We're back. Hopefully this is it. Hopefully this is working. And we are talking sales secrets and basically just wanting to share with you guys what what the kind of pieces are in my business in terms of that, what I see being really important for other clients. I want to talk to you about some of the things I do that are kind of unconventional, but that still get us a ton of sales. And I really want to help you guys just figure out what's true for you in your sales process. I think there is such a thing in the online space that there is one way to do sales. Like you need a script, you need to take payment on the phone, you need to say it a certain way, you need to do it a certain way. And personally, I've never ever used a script. I've never ever taken payment on the phone. And we make, well over $500,000 in sales each year. So it's not a thing that you have to do. And I really want to talk about that because I feel like I've heard from so many women that have ended up becoming my clients, that have bought from me, that have been in my sales program, that is one of the things that turned them off from sales or made them feel bad at sales or made them think that they, were never going to be good at sales. And it's just so harmful, I think, in any respect to think that there's one way to do something. If you guys are here, can you tell me, can you hear me okay? Like the video keeps flashing on my end, which is fine, unless it's not fine. You can't see it. So if you're here, can you let me know if you can see it? But what we're really talking about is this idea that I am always talking about, which is that there is no one perfect way to do something except for the way that fits you. So I'm not necessarily saying don't take payment on the phone. I have plenty of clients who do. But what I am saying is that you absolutely do not have to do it a certain way. And there is not one script that's going to get you all the sales in the world. There's not one process. There's not one thing. And as soon as you are able to tap into what really works for you in the sales process, the better. So I just want to tell you guys a quick little story. If you're here, say hi and tell me if you can hear me and see me okay. Because my video keeps flashing on my end. And I don't know if that's a problem. And I also can't see comments. This new editor is like tripping me out. So if you're here, say hi, tell me if you can see and hear me. Hopefully I will see the comment. Actually, you know what? I could pull it up on my phone, I bet, which would be useful. Let's see if I can do that. So here's the thing. If you are someone who feels like you're bad at sales, I totally get it. But I would also say, like, make sure to check in on that. So here's my little story around that, is that when I first started, really selling, really ramping up my business, I felt like I was bad at sales, and I was not doing sales in the way that like I was kind of like being told to or being taught. And so I felt like, well, gosh, I must be really bad at sales. Like I'm not doing it how anybody's doing it. Like I hate the way I'm hearing. I hate the way I'm being taught. I hate the idea of a script. Like, shit, I must just be like missing something and be really bad at sales. Jen, thank you. I can see your comments now, so that's helpful. I can't see them on here, but I can see them on my phone. Okay, thank you for being here, Jen. Thank you for letting me know you can see me. Okay, so I thought I was bad at it. Like I just wasn't doing it how everyone was telling me to do it. I wasn't, feeling good about it in all of those ways. And so one thing that, really stuck out to me was this idea that like I was just bad at it. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I didn't even have a thing like to say like, oh, I did really bad on this call. It was just like everything I'm being taught to do, like I'm not doing how people are saying it. And so I just feel like I'm really bad at it. And so I had done like, had a coach. I had done another sales training that I never really did. You know what I mean? And then I did another one, and the first thing that she asked us when we joined the program was to calculate our conversion rate. And so I did that. And then I was like, I'm converting at 100%. I'm actually really fucking good at sales. And I did not even take the rest of that course. I have no idea what that course contained, but I got everything I needed in that moment, which was like, oh yeah, just because I'm not doing it everybody else's way, if I look at my actual results, I'm really good at sales. And I think that can be so hysterical and such an eye roll moment of like, wait, if you were converting that well, how did you think you were bad at sales? But the reason I thought I was bad at sales is because I just kept hearing all of this stuff that I wasn't doing. So I was like immediately labeling myself as bad at it. And I just wanted to share that as kind of like a precursor to this whole conversation, because I think we all do that to ourselves a ton, right? Is that if we're not doing it how so-and-so said we should, or how this other person said we should, or how we heard, this person made $1 million doing it, then we're bad at something or we're not doing it right. And I just want to like put that on the table that I was actually really, really good at it, and just kept telling myself this story because I wasn't doing it how everybody else was saying I was supposed to be doing it. So I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with that and have made yourself wrong a lot in business. And so hopefully this is permission to do it your way. But so one of the things that I do that's really different is that I've never taken a payment on the phone for a program. And I'll tell you a little bit about that and why. And again, this isn't necessarily a recommendation. Plenty of my clients do take payment on the phone. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just me doing it my way and them doing it their way. So the reason I've never taken payment on the phone is because I feel like if you can't get off the phone with me and still be a yes, we probably shouldn't work together. If you're going to get off the phone with me and become a no, then like we need to be able to talk through that before you pay me, or we're just not the right fit. If the only way that we're the right fit is if I make sure that you pay on the phone, for me, that's not the right fit. So in value-centered sales, my approach is starting, getting, and keeping the sale, right? So starting being how to like build those relationships, start that. Getting being like the discovery call and how you convert, and keeping being having a long-term client that stays with you, that continues to buy from you. And so for me, I look at the sales process holistically in terms of starting, getting, and keeping the sale. And if I'm only able to get the sale, if you do it in that moment, then the likelihood I keep it for me is lower, right? And so what I've decided to do is to never take a payment on the phone, because I know that if you can get off the phone and still be a yes, that I will keep that sale much longer term, right? So I really like to share that part, because there are so many people that come to me, and when I'm like, who cares if you get a payment on the phone? They're like, I've been told that the only way someone will ever convert is if they pay right then on the phone. Has anybody that's listening been told that? Like, just give me like an emoji or a thumbs up if you've heard that, because I've had so many clients that have come to me that have heard that, and we have to do like a lot of like rewiring of their brain and of their sales process so that they don't feel all this pressure where like, if I don't get the money or convert right on the phone, I don't get the client. And it's been so helpful for them to be like, wait, okay, I don't even have that pressure anymore. I can still make a sale after. That's amazing. And it has changed the game in a lot of their sales processes, because they don't feel like it's now or never, which is such a harmful thing in my opinion, because I think it puts so much pressure on the person hosting the call, but also so much pressure on the person that's showing up. So I actually did a sales call recently, and the person was like, you're not going to like make me pay you right now? I was like, no. Like, I mean, even if you wanted to, I wouldn't. And she was like, this is so weird. I've never had a sales call where someone hasn't pushed me into paying. And I was like, I know you're a yes. Like, it's fine. You can get off this call and I know you're still going to pay. And so I think it's just really helpful to see that the way that it feels best to you is the way that converts best. So for me, it would not feel best to me to push that. Not because I feel like it's pushy, quite honestly, but because like I want a client who is still a yes after we get off the phone. So it would just feel bad to me to not know if that was true. And so that part of my sales process works really well because it's so in alignment for me and feels so good for me. Hey, Maggie May, she says that's an awesome shift. I'm so glad that's helpful for you. Thank you for being here and letting me know that. And so again, like it's not bad to take a payment on the phone. I get plenty of my clients do, but for me, that part of my sales process works so well and makes people feel so good and feels so good to me that it's just this win all around. So what I hope that illustrates for you is that there's no one right way. Like, again, we do plenty of sales. My conversion rate is 85-90% at this point. And I don't take payments like on the phone. It's just not a thing. Like, the things are a thing if you decide they're a thing. So in the like sales world, if people are telling you like the only way you're going to close a sale is if you have this one script and say it this one way and do this one thing, then it's very easy to make that a story in your brain. And mindset wise, it's very easy to get bought into that and to be like, oh, well, I have to do it this one way or I don't make sales. And what I want to invite you to do based on this live stream is decide that you get to make sales in the way that feels good to you. And that's going to be your best converter. If you decide that there are all these things that you have to do a certain way, like I did when I was bad at sales, then you're going to constantly feel really shitty on your sales calls, or you're going to avoid sales calls altogether because you don't want to do it. That is something I see with a lot of people, is they're doing them, but they feel totally shitty and pushy and weird on it. And so they're never closing because that energy is there. Or they're like, well, if that's the only way, I don't actually want to do it that way. And so they find all of these ways to kind of like be in resistance or self-sabotage or avoid the call. So there's nothing that could be more important than you figuring out a way to do it that feels really, really good and in alignment for you, because that's when you're excited to get on a call. That's when you're trying to book more. That's when you're out there every day being like, who wants to get on a call with me? Versus like, oh my God, I like dread it. I hate it. I feel pushy. I feel bad. I feel sleazy, right? That's the end of the game in terms of you making more sales, is if you feel bad. I think another piece that happens here is that we feel uncomfortable. So we feel like it would be better if we had a sales script. I hear that a lot from people, is like, but it would be so much better if I just had like an exact script I could use. And what I'll tell you is this: though it may make you feel more uncomfortable, it doesn't really make you feel empowered or great as a salesperson in general. So what I mean by that is, like, I know if you get on a call with me, any call, if you get on a call with me, if you want a free call, if I live coached you, if you got whatever, a free assessment call, if you did a discovery call, if you get on a call with me, there's a 85-90% chance you're buying from me. You know why I know that? Because I'm fucking good at my sales process, not because I have some script that only works for this one type of call. And then when I get on this other call, I don't actually know what to do or whatever, right? Like, the script thing is hard because it's so tempting, in the sense that, of course, that would make you feel better. Hey, Claire. Hey. Thanks for being here. The script thing would like make you feel better in the moment, potentially. But the thing that's going to be best for you in your sales process is really figuring out how to do it in a way that feels amazing to you and that converts every time, no matter what kind of call, no matter how you're showing up, no matter who you're talking to. Like, what I have really figured out over time is, for me, what works for that. And so I don't have to have a script. I just am really, really good at selling my program, even on a live stream, whatever that is. And so the script thing is a challenge because though it feels good in the moment, you're not actually getting really fucking fantastic at selling your program over time, right? You're like, well, I have a script for this one kind of call, and so I really need this one kind of call to be the thing that works because that's where I have a script, versus like that empowerment of like, put a person in front of me, they go by, right? Like, that's such a different vibe. So in value-centered sales, I definitely have keywords or key phrases that I help you with in terms of like transitioning to a sale or asking, about next steps for them. And there are certainly like, key phrases or things like that I'll teach you that kind of help you like find your flow. So it's not like you're on your own, good luck. But we definitely don't teach a scripted process, because the magic for you is when, number one, you can show up and really figure out what works for you, because then you can apply it across the board in your business. You can apply it to emails, to live streams, to any type of call, to in-person networking, whatever that is, right? And then the second thing is that it really takes away your magic. So one of the things that I always talk about is like being the person on the front end sales call as you're going to be on the back end as a coach. That's so important in getting and keeping the sale. And really, like seeing that congruence across the board. Like, I am who I am in my group. I'm the same person on the sales call, and I'm the same person when we're coaching together. If I'm a certain way in my group, then I'm following someone else's script, and I basically have another personality on my sales call. And then I'm different as a coach. There's going to be some weirdness there, right? So something I always talk about is like a lot of sales scripts really kind of teach us to take away someone's power. Like, we're basically like, here I am, I know better, here's what you need, and if you don't want it, there's something wrong with you, right? So if we sell someone in with that philosophy, and then we get into coaching and we're like, you're all powerful and all knowing, the answer is inside of you, let me coach you to it. They're going to be like, well, what the fuck? Because a week ago on our sales call, you had all the answers, and now you coaching me like I have all the answers, and it's very confusing. And this is when sales falls apart, because if we're not congruent across the board, people feel that, and it truly does become a problem in our business, right? If we're congruent across the board, i.e. like I apply my unique magic to a sales call, and then I'm that same person in coaching, and I'm that same person online or in video, that's when everything changes. Like, the exact person that you see here is the exact person that's on a sales call, right? It's not like, oh yeah, like I'm a certain way in the group, but on a sales call, I followed the script and it's someone else's, so it's not mine, but hopefully you like it. Like, that makes no fucking sense. You know what I mean? It's like almost funny if you think about it that way, because what we're really selling people is like our service, their interaction with us. And so our job, in my opinion, is to fully show up with that in the sales process to make the best conversions. And when you can unlock what those secrets are for you, you will see your sales skyrocket because of that. So all of my clients have different sales processes, and there's a point to that. Like, I could just tell them what's worked for me, but is that really going to be the thing that works for them? No, like, our job is to figure out what works for them. And I'll be totally honest with you, that takes a little more time, energy, and effort than just following a sales script, but it also changes the motherfucking game in your business in terms of being able to apply that to other things, use that other places, feel super rock solid confident in your ability to get clients no matter when, no matter where, no matter how, right? If you have that one sales script that works in that one circumstance, you're really putting yourself in a disempowered position, right? Or again, like, if it has to look a certain way, you have to take a payment on the phone. Like, we cannot play these games with ourselves where it's like there's this one potentiality and it has to look like this to work. The reason that I make so many sales is because I just believe that nothing is standing in my way of doing that, right? Because I like know how to sell and it's easy for me. So what I really challenge all of you to do is to figure out like how to get congruent across the board and how to start selling in a way that totally and completely applies to who you are as a person, to who you are as a coach. So, what I really believe that matters in sales is not how you say something. I think it's how you make someone feel on the call. I think it's how much you can actually listen, hear, and understand them. I think it's how you can position yourself as a solution to the issues that you just spent the time listening to, right? So it's like not exactly what you say. It's like how you make them feel. It's how you listen and personalize it and understand them, and how you position yourself as the solution. What sales scripts do is almost completely take away that opportunity because you can't really be present. You're trying to shift it to a certain, like conversation script versus like, I'm able to be like completely and totally present on a call, make them feel amazing, make them feel totally heard, listen to them as much as possible. And every call will look different based on that. Like, every call is going to be slightly different because I want to be here for that person. I want to make them feel amazing. I want to make them feel seen, heard, and understood. I want to make sure they know that I get the answer, or that I am the answer to the problem if I am, right? So if you're trying to keep it too scripted, what I see people miss a lot of the times with that is that genuine connection. And what I truly believe is that that genuine connection is what makes a sale. If someone gets on the phone with you and really, really feels that genuine vibe, that genuine connection, like you genuinely listen to them, it's really hard not to buy because we buy for emotional reasons. Like we can all pretend that we buy for logical reasons, and we don't. We buy entirely for emotional reasons 9 times out of 10, especially bigger purchases like who we're hiring as a coach or service provider. And so if you can create that emotional connection with someone on the phone or on Zoom or whatever that is for you, they are going to be 10 times more likely to buy. If you can't really show your personality and you're holding back because you're following a script or because you think you have to do it a certain way, there's going to be a real discrepancy in how connected they feel with you, like literally energetically, right? And how quick they are to take that next step to buy. I think this is really comforting for a lot of coaches and service providers. Having come from the therapy world, I think that's why I thought I was really bad at sales. But what I realized is that's actually why I'm fucking fantastic at sales because next to none, I'm amazing at making someone feel seen, heard, and understood and reflecting to them and making them feel empowered. Got that on lock. So when I do that on sales calls, it just converts all the time and it works really well. And I think that's comforting to a lot of you guys that are coaches and service providers that really do have that heart to like hear people and see people and help people. Sales should be easy for you. The reason it is not is because we're making it about other stuff. We're making it about having to say it a certain way, having to push, having to be, scripted or sleazy or whatever. And that's where the disconnect comes in. And so a point I want to make here in terms of sales secrets and doing it your way is that you're probably already way better at this than you're giving yourself credit for. If you're a great coach, you're probably going to have a really easy time being good at sales because it's about that emotional connection, right? And if you're trying to follow a specific process too much, you're likely to be taking away some of that connection. And that's when it feels super shitty because it's like, why is this not converting better? I'm using this script, I'm perfecting this process, and it just is not clicking. And it's like for that same reason we were talking about, like you don't get to be fully you don't get to be fully congruent, but you also don't get to create that emotional connection in the same way. And I really believe that is where the majority of sales comes from. Like I teach in value-centered sales, like when people get off the sales call with you, they don't remember the bonuses you said. They don't remember half the shit you told them. The thing they will remember is how they walked away feeling from that sales call. Hands down. And do they want to feel that again and again talking to you every week? Right? If they walked away feeling totally disempowered, totally not seen, misunderstood, that kind of stuff, you're not getting a sale no matter how good your script is. If they walk away feeling lit up, excited, empowered, seen, understood, you're getting the sale every time. Like they want to replicate that emotional experience, right? Hey, Stephanie, thanks for being here. Okay. So that's really important to see. If, by the way, if you guys are listening, have questions, I know I'm kind of just like sharing random sales thoughts, but if you have any sales questions, feel free to ask them. But that is when you'll see the conversions, right? Is because of that connection. And if you're already someone who is a coach and loves serving and loves connecting, congratulations, you're probably much further along than you think, right? One of the other things that is really helpful to see with the sales process piece is that the more you can pay attention and be present and ask a lot of questions, the better. So what I mean by that is like, if we're too scripted, if we think it has to go a certain way, if we're following a certain thing, we're not very present and we're not able to accurately respond to that person. So by being present, I mean like fully listening to what they're saying versus planning the next thing you're going to say, fully engaging with them, giving them that reflection instead of trying to steer it in a certain direction. And really just asking a ton of questions. Like I spend the majority of my sales calls asking questions because I want to get to know that person and I want them to feel seen, heard, and understood. And then I want to be able to show them how, based on all of their answers, I can be the solution to their problem. And when I am able to be present enough to ask questions just like you would on a coaching call, everything changes. If I am always trying to think 5 steps ahead or, make the conversation go a certain way or push them in a certain direction, I'm barely going to hear what they're saying and they're going to get off that call not feeling heard, right? So I actually had another sales call recently and the person on it was like, this was the most, what did she say? Like refreshing and disarming sales call I've ever had. And she was telling me about another sales call she had recently that was like super scripted and how she just felt totally unseen and totally misunderstood on it. And, had said something about wanting to talk to her partner and was kind of just shamed for it and just really got off there feeling super not seen, super not understood. So of course she's not giving them her money, right? When you're like, well, that was really weird. Like, I definitely don't feel like they heard me. I definitely don't feel like they even totally get my problem. So how can they help with the solution? Like, that is not the stuff we tend to buy from unless we're kind of buying from a wound. Right? And I hate to say that, but that's what like a lot of the pushier sales scripts are based on is kind of, like pushing on that wound and making people feel crappy enough that they buy, right? And though sometimes that works, I don't personally think that that is the best situation for a number of reasons that are, I think, very obvious, but also because of the fact that you will have a client that's coming to you from that wound that is very dependent on you, that feels like you have all the answers and they don't. Like, what I am always making sure of in my sales process is that they get that they are just empowered as I am and we are partners in this process, right? So when you push on the wound so hard, right, you're kind of positioning yourself on this pedestal as the savior, which is dangerous, quite honestly. When you're able to make them feel really good, really empowered, really seen, really heard, really understood on the phone, then it feels like you're entering a partnership together. And that is a game changer. Hey, Janet, thank you for being here. If you guys have any sales questions, let me know. Happy to answer any of those. But really, really important to think about how to make that connection point, to be really present, to ask those questions, to reflect their answers. And then the last thing I'll talk about in terms of sales secrets and like why it doesn't have to be a certain way. Belinda said shame sales. I don't get that channel at all. Shame sales is a good way to put it. It's so true though. It's so true. That's a really good way to put it, Belinda. Yeah. So one last thing I will say is I think one of the greatest like secrets in the sales process is personalization. So I also think this is a way where scripts really don't help us. Is what I have noticed the longer that I've been in sales is the more that I can just personalize it to the human in front of me instead of kind of like wanting to follow a certain pitch or certain script, the better. So the pitch for my program looks different on every call because I'm tying it to exactly what they told me they need, right? If you've had a sales call with me, you know that's 100% true. Like, I am uninterested in really telling you all the specific points we'll talk about and whatever. I'm like, here's what I see you need. Here's what I've identified your problems to be. Here's how I will help that. Here's how that fits into my program. The more you can personalize that, the better. And it's so hard to do that when you're working off of a certain script because everyone that comes to you is going to need something a little bit different. And if you can meet them in that, again, they're going to feel so seen, so heard, so understood that it makes so much sense to buy from you. Where I see people kind of hurt the process here is they have like this personalized sales call where they ask questions and stuff, and then their pitch is totally generic and the same every time. And it's like, we just talked for 20 fucking minutes about all this stuff I need help with, and then you gave me like this generic pitch about what your program includes. Like, what? That can like really fracture the relationship a little bit there. It's like if I, whatever, I'm just making this up, told my boyfriend every day that I like pink roses or something like that, and then my birthday comes along and he gets me whatever, lilies. I'm like, I mean, I appreciate the lilies, but like, did you listen to me at all? Right? Totally weird. So yeah, Claire says, yes, I had that on a call once. It's so fucking weird, right? Where you're like, but I just told you all this stuff. And then like, none of what you said fully speaks to that, right? She hadn't listened to anything I had told her. Exactly. And that's where scripts get so challenging, is because you have that scripted pitch, you have that scripted thing. And it's like, if you're not like talking about what you just talked about for 20 minutes, it is literally so like icky, and it just totally fractures the relationship at that point. And so really being able to find your own way to do this, and honestly some of it is just the confidence to be present enough. Like what I really try to teach clients in value centered sales is how to be so sold on themselves, so sold on their program, so sure of their sales process that they can be that present, that they can make it that personal, because that's where high conversion rates come from. I think you can get to like 50 to 60% on a script. I think if you're trying to get to 70, 80, 90% conversion rates, you've got to be playing this game and not that one. That's my personal opinion. Okay, Janet says, what happens when you try to identify the problem for them, but they don't want to go there or give you a surface answer, so it's hard to talk into the real problem without feeling that I'm bombarding them with questions? Well, I think quite honestly, like the thing I would remember there is a sales call is just as much for you to decide if they're the right fit as it is for um, them to decide if you are. And so if I had someone that was just like not going there with me, I would probably just say something like, hey, listen, like I'm really sensing that there's a thing under here and that maybe it's uncomfortable to dive into. But what I really want to figure out here is like, if I'm the person to solve that really pressing problem you have, I would love to be able to talk about this one thing more. Does that feel comfortable for you? And really kind of just being super transparent about that and being like, hey, I want to go here. This is what I'm here for. I will sometimes almost purposefully bring up a tougher subject on a sales call, not in the sense of like trying to like coach around it or open a wound, but like if somebody's like really seeming resistance around something, I'll be like, seems like you have a lot of resistance around video, and I gotta tell you, if we work together, that's something I'd really push you around. Is that something you're available for? Right? And just being that level of transparent, or again, like if they're skirting the problem, just being like, hey, if we coach together, I would really dig into that problem. So I want to do that here so that you know if that's something that's going to work for you. Being that transparent also feels really good to people because they feel like they know what they're getting into. If you kind of just dance around the same thing with them, they're going to be like, that was cool, but no. If you're willing to be like, look, here's what's up, they're going to be 10 times more likely to end up buying from you if what they really want is coaching and you really are the right fit. So don't be afraid to push on those. Like, we are not in a sales call just to make, them happy. We're also there to figure out if we're the right fit. And so sometimes that is like pushing on the thing or asking the hard question, but that's always a good thing, because again, when we think about starting, getting, and keeping the sale, you will keep it if you're willing to have that conversation because you know they were the right fit. I remember I had a sales call one time and the girl was like, mindset's like not something I'm interested in at all. I don't have mindset issues. I don't believe in mindset. Mindset's not a thing. Like, I just want strategy. And I was like, here's the thing. My framework is mindset, strategy, and execution. I am always going to bring up mindset on a coaching call. If that's not something you're available for, like, I'm totally happy to refer you to someone else. But I don't think we're the right fit. Like, what feels true for you there? And she was like, I probably need the mindset help now that you say it like that. And I was like, okay, cool. So let's have that conversation. And it like really opened up something beautiful, kind of just being willing to like stand that ground. And so those are just different examples for you there. But always, always, always a win to kind of go into the thing and instead of kind of skirt around it, if that makes sense. Claire says, I teach a sales call framework focused on listening to the person. For sure. Like, I think there are absolutely skills to learn in sales. Again, I have a whole program called Value Centered Sales, and there are certainly skills and transition points and ways to set up the call and all of that. But if you're so scripted that you can't be present, and that you can't personalize, you're just totally missing the point. And you're gonna feel really not able to sell in other ways, in other settings, in other capacities. What I think is so helpful for my clients and how we, kind of formulate their sales process is that they get to know their clients so well through that because they're so present and because they're listening so much that it translates to everything else. Like, you guys know my clients have amazing launches, and they're kind of like, I feel like we're kind of like known for killing launches at this point. And that's why, because they do not have a front end sales process that does not leave them knowing clients like the back of their fucking hand, versus like not being able to be present for that. I do stuff with my clients where like every time they get off a sales call, they're supposed to go into Basecamp and debrief it with me so that they can like be present, learn from it, take the data, that kind of thing. And that's how we end up killing launches later on, because we are so present and know the people so fucking well, right? So that presence and that personalization is just unbeatable in the sales process, quite honestly. And it's the thing that will take the like 50% conversion rate way, way up. But again, like, you get to do that in a way that feels good for you. You get to personalize it to you. Claire says badass. Thank you, Claire. And don't think that just because someone else is telling you that you have to do it a certain way or you have to say it a certain way, that it means that if you don't do it your own way, that you can't still get sales. Like, I think what gets confusing, and I'll kind of end on this note, but if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know. But I think what gets confusing in the sales process is that someone will do something that works really, really well for them. And then they'll go, this works. This is the way to do sales. This is the only way to do sales. And then they'll go teach the process. And it's like, well, what really happened there is you figured out a way that feels really good to you and that works really good to you. So it's like, it's funny because it's like there's that confusion point almost for us where it's like, that person finally figures out how it works for them and applies it, and then they go teach that exact process and say no other process works but this. And it's like, well, what really fucking worked there is that you did it in a way that feels good. Like, I think the people that even do have the pushy scripts and stuff like that, I think it works for them because it just works for them. That's congruent with them. That's their personality. That's how they would talk to you on the street. Like, I'm not saying those don't work. I'm just saying that for a lot of us women that hate making sales in that way, they stop working for us. And then we're like, wait, why is the process not working? Well, the process only worked because it fit that person. It fit their personality. It worked really well for how they show up, how they operate. It was really congruent for them. You see what I mean? And so our job is to figure out how to make that for you instead of going, oh, well, that worked for them, so I guess it should work for me. And if it doesn't, I suck. We're like missing the whole fucking point. Like, it works for them because they figured out how to make it work for them and it was really congruent. It's why it works for me to not take payment on the phone, and I never have. And it's why it works really well for some of my clients to take payment on the phone, because it's not about the one thing. It's about the alignment, what feels good, what works for you, and how to apply it. So I hope that's just like a helpful thought there if you're feeling like you're missing the point or doing something wrong. What most people are selling is what has worked for them, is congruent for them. Your job is to figure out what's congruent for you, not to figure out how you can fit into their process. That's the magic. That's the whole thing. So I hope that is useful. I hope that dispels some myths. You don't have to take payment on the phone. You don't have to be super pushy. You don't have to follow a script. You don't have to shame people. You just get to be like really in it. You get to be present. You get to do it your way. You get to be congruent. You get to bring your personality. And I promise you that's when sales start to turn around. So I hope you guys have a beautiful week. If you have sales questions, feel free to drop them below. Or if you're watching the replay, I'm happy to come back and answer those. And I feel like I was going to share something else, but I can't remember what it was. It's gone. This is going to drive me crazy, though. I feel like I was going to talk. Oh, I know. There we go. It's back. I feel like I never talk about this anymore, and so I wanted to share it today just in case, but I actually have a sales quiz. So you guys heard me mention starting, getting, and keeping the sale quite a few times in here, and I have a quiz that will help you figure out which part of your sales process you actually need to tweak, I think that's really, really useful, because a lot of times we feel like I just suck at sales, and we kind of put this blanket over it. And what I find to be true is that usually it's like one of those areas that really needs your focus. And if you shift that, everything else shifts. So I have a free quiz that will walk you through what piece of your sales process needs to shift. And I just feel like I always forget to talk about that. So I will drop the link for that if you want to take it and you want to figure out what your stuck point is and how to shift it. And then we will give you resources for how to shift that particular piece. So I will drop that link. If you guys have more questions, let me know. I hope you guys have a beautiful week. I love y'all, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.